Welcome back to TV Toastmasters. I'm your host, Allison Bennett, and today joining me is John Ashford. John is an amazing person. He does things with the juvenile system and many, many more things. And today we're going to find out about some of the cool stuff that he's doing and cool things that he's writing about and cool things that he's teaching people. So welcome, John.
Thank you, Allison.
I'm
Thanks
so glad you're here.
I'm so excited. Let's have some fun.
Let's do that.
Yes.
You know me, I love having fun.
Yes.
So John, tell me, what is something fun going on in your life right now?
Well, I'm coming to the end of my career at Multnomah County Juvenile Justice Department.
Wait, Multnomah County Juvenile Justice Department.
Yes.
And your career has been how long?
29 years, going on my 30th year.
30 years.
Yes.
And what do you do there?
I'm a probation officer / JCC, which means I'm a court counselor. And what I do is I walk young people through the system, through probation or supervision of probation. Right now, I currently have a position where I'm an informal probation officer, which means that Multnomah County has designed programs so that we don't allow young people to enter the program. So we're trying to reduce the numbers of young people that come in our system, so we give them an opportunity to deal with their allegation before going in front of a judge. So, so my partner and I have a caseload of about 45 kids. 45 kids?
Yes. So how do you work with them? What do you do to help them like stay out of the system? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
So what are some things that you do with them?
So what I do is I get really creative.
Oh, good.
Okay. I have a theme when kids come into my office today. Like I had 2 young ladies come into my office today, and I asked them a question. I said, "Did you come in here with problems today?" And they were like, "Yes." And you can feel the energy because they're scared. So what's happening is that they're afraid that something's going to happen more than what's really going to happen on the informal unit. They don't see a judge. There's no district attorney. There's no attorney. It's just me, them, and their parents. And so we come up with some type of creative manner or creative tool that will allow them to pay back the community and learn something.
So can you give me an idea of like a couple of ideas of what does that even look like?
So, for example, they come in and usually, so this is me being creative. So usually a young person will come in and they'll have to do 24 hours of community service for, let's say, a theft 3. They stole something from Fred Meyer's, okay? And so we come up and make sure they're in school, because that's one of the important pieces. Make sure there's no drug and alcohol issues going on. And if there's any mental health issues, then we suggest counseling. But mostly we're focusing on accountability and making sure that they're giving something back to the community or paying a restitution back if there's a victim that's out of money.
Right.
So if it's only minor and I feel that they can benefit from something more, I usually offer them this. I would say, you have an opportunity of actually doing 24 hours of community service or 8 hours of community service and writing an essay and reading a book.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And I choose books that will allow them to explore other opportunities. Like the 2 books that I've pretty much is Being You Change the World by Dr. Dane Here, and the other book is The Alchemist.
Oh, okay. So the 2 books are Being You, Changing the World. So you're saying be you and be the you that can actually change the world.
Yes.
And the other one is The Alchemist. I think many of us have heard about The Alchemist.
Yes. And both of those books have tools in it. So what I want to do is help them develop ways of thinking, critical thinking, which will allow them not to make the same mistake that they made to come in the system in the first place. Because if they have a possibility of creating something or knowing that they can be different, usually people will choose it. Unfortunately, a lot of times young people aren't given that. A lot of my clients aren't doing well in school. And so when I ask them what's going on with school, it's not designed to address some of the young people that we are forced to work with in the juvenile department. So I'm asking questions about, okay, then what can we create that would allow you to have greater choices, to have greater opportunities, to step outside of the reality that you live in, because you usually come impoverished.
Okay.
And families don't have much education.
Okay.
And the outlook on life is like dismal.
So they come in and they are maybe in a box.
Yes.
Or they put themselves, or they perceive themselves as if they're in a box.
Yes.
And so what I hear you say is that you give them tools to like at least open a window.
Yes.
And then maybe see that there's a door
Yes.
that they can go through and make different choices.
Yes. Yes. And furthermore, I even go even a little bit further. I asked this one young man, what would happen if you could imagine a world without a window or a door and no walls? What would you create then? Because that's a brand new canvas of living.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what would you do if you could create anything? So I want them to get to the point where I wanted to get to the point that the questions that I would ask young people, a light will go off, and they have this I call it the dumb question face, like, what was that? You know, and that's the point where I can ask more questions to help them develop more choices, which allows them to have more freedom.
So do you have a couple of questions that you ask kids that really, or ask anybody, that can really help that light bulb go off?
What do you desire out of life?
What do you desire out of life?
What do you desire out of life? I mean, I ask, and what's your favorite thing? And what are you good at that nobody else is good at?
Oh, that's good.
Yes. I want them to start focusing. And unfortunately, some of the young people have no answer. So then it forces me to get more creative, to ask questions. Well, what do you desire?
Well, and I think it's not just young people. I think lots of old people, like that question, I think is daunting to most anybody. What do you do or have that nobody else has?
Yes.
I mean, that's a
because in this society, a lot of people aren't trained to talk about themselves.
I think we're trained to boast about ourselves.
Yes, but not really
not talk about
but about who you really be. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I really focus on with young people, and that's the hook for me. You know, the most important piece of my job is engaging. Yeah. And you asked me earlier what excites me and what's going on in my world right now. At the end of my career, I decided that I wanted to do something, leave a mark on the planet. Yeah. And so I decided, for a long time inside of me, there was a book. And so two of my friends mentioned it to me. One person recently mentioned it to me about writing a book, and another friend mentioned this to me about maybe 5-6 years ago. And I said, yeah. So I started doing outlines for a book. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, what do I really want to leave in the community? And what I decided is that I want to teach people or show people how to do what I've been doing for the last 30 years and beyond 30 years, because I've been working with young people. I've been here since 1987, and I was a youth minister for Immaculate Heart and St. Andrew's Church. And at that moment, I was like, I wonder where those young people are today that I work with. So I went on Facebook. Yeah. And I asked people, I was like, I'm going to write a book. Yeah. And would you guys mind sharing stories about what it was like working with me, either as a youth minister or a probation officer or facilitator for Sovalti, which is a men's group that's coordinated by Tim Logan, or some of the clients I have in the community. I was like, I just want to get notes that would jog my mind about stories to tell, because I figured in this book, if I could tell stories and give people tools on how to engage, it would allow people to have greater community. And at first I was just thinking about this was going to be just a book for people working with young people. Then I realized, well, no, this is a book about having greater community. So this book is not only going to be designed for working for young people, even though there's going to be a lot of tools, but those same tools work within your relationship, work within your business, works with all the creativity you might have. These are tools of question which allows you to engage more in yourself.
Okay, so I've got 2 questions right now.
Yes.
You keep talking about tools.
Yes.
So I want to know 1, 2, or 3 tools that you might have. And then also, what's a story or 2? Like, you've wet our whistle, now we want more.
So one of the tools that I use is asking people questions about what do they desire. Right. And I drill that home, not to be a pain in their butt, but actually I'm looking for them to start to expand, to think outside of the box, which we talked about before. What would it be like to be outside the box? Yeah. Because I asked a young lady today, would you rather survive or thrive? And I said, and what's the difference?
That's a good question. So what did she say?
And so she was like, at first she was kind of confused. She said, I do both. And so I was like, really, you do both? I said, well, how much joy do you have in your thriving right now? And she said, I said, so are you doing more of surviving And what is surviving? She said, yeah, surviving is just getting along. I said, and where did you get that information from? And so what happened is that she started to realize that she started getting that information from her mom, and she figured her mom probably got it from her mom, her mom got it from her mom, but nothing has changed. It's just the mundane life of living like, oh, well, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go to work, I have a child. And so I was like, what would it take to thrive?
Yeah.
And live beyond what you ever thought is possible?
Well, I think you just hit a key, and this is a key that I've had in my life. I've been a question person my whole life. In fact, I've been irritatingly I've questioned enough times in classes to be irritating, and I'm okay with that.
Yes.
And one of the things I kept questioning is, okay, so what you just said, so who said that?
Yes.
Oh, that was in the history book, so-and-so in the history book. Okay, so where did that person hear that? Oh, it was further back in history. It was Roman times. Okay, so where did that? And I kept asking, where do these ideas come from? And when you follow those ideas and you can see that, oh, they've shifted even over the years, now you can see that it doesn't have to be what takes over my mind. I can set it aside and go, oh, well, that was somebody's idea, and it worked then, and things are different, and or the idea got changed, and now that doesn't work at all, and now I have the freedom to ask more questions and think something different. Is that along the lines of what you're talking about?
Yes. I want the person to get uncomfortable being comfortable.
Yes.
And the best way of doing that is asking people more questions that allow them to expand. And I can tell by their facial gestures when I'm asking those questions, or the pause. The greatest thing is pause, and I'm actually showing people the other tool is being comfortable in silence.
Oh, I am terrible at that. I know. Okay, as a director, I will, as a theater director, I totally direct in silent pauses.
Yes.
I'm totally comfortable when it's specific silent pause for a period of time. But how do you become comfortable with the silence and the pause?
Modeling it.
Yep.
So what happens is that we can be in a room, and sometimes it's a parent sitting here, young person sitting with me, and I will give 15 seconds of silence, which seems like eternity. But the young people start to get comfortable with that, and I don't badger them if they don't answer quick enough. And I was like, it's okay to process. Some people now, I'm a person that process why I talk. Other people process by just sitting there. And in that space, you can get creative. It's like, what do you want to think about? How do you want to respond to this? Instead of reacting. And the piece about the silence is that it allows people not to go into the reaction and go more to the response. A lot of people are trained to just react, a knee-jerk reaction, instead of responding, which takes some contemplation about, what do I want to do next? You know, and that's a tool that allows people to start to be different, because they're going to start using critical thinking tools.
Yep.
The other piece is bragging rights.
Bragging rights?
Yes.
Really?
What do you do very well?
Okay.
What do you do very well, better than anybody else? Because that's a tool that I use that allows people to build their own self-esteem.
There you go. Do you find it hard sometimes for people to figure out what it is they do well?
Yes.
Okay. So
because what happens is we're trained not to think about ourselves in that manner. Especially the young ladies.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes, the young ladies I find to be more like, well, I don't know what I do well, or it's something connected to a relationship, and not them. They're like, they become secondary. And so one of the pieces I do is like, what would it take for you to think about yourself in a light of being better than anybody else in the gift and talent that you have?
Oh, that's good. So you're not necessarily in comparison. You're not. It's in what you have.
In your world.
Yeah, I love that.
And the other piece, encouraging people to step out and do something and be something different. What does it take that if everybody goes left, if 100 people go left and you go right, what does that look like? What does that look like? What does that create? One young lady, so here's one of the stories. So there was a lady that, so on Facebook, I asked, this was one young lady from the youth group from St. Andrews. And so she wrote, she said, you know something, John, one of the things that you showed us as a youth minister was it's okay to be right and choose your own path.
And not follow everybody else.
And not follow everybody else. She said, and that stayed with me as when you said that to us as a youth minister, that really stayed with us. And so it's almost to the point of, and the way you do that is you ask questions. And I used to even tell people, if you have to tell somebody a lie to get out of trouble, why not do that? And let me explain that so people are like, what are you saying? Don't like? No, what I'm saying is this. If a group of kids are going to do something that that's not right,
Oh, gotcha.
and you don't want to lose face with
Right.
your friends,
Right.
why don't you act like your cell phone? And, hey, my mom just called me. I got to go home.
Oh, you know what? I totally did that with my kids. I
Yes.
told them if they were ever in a situation, totally put the blame on me.
Yes.
Tell them that their mom would kill them or whatever
Yes.
the deal
Yes.
is. Tell them my mom has psychic powers. She knows if I'm going to do it. And since I don't have psychic powers, but since I kind of had good guesses
Yes.
that were often right,
Yes.
the friends would believe me. And so, yeah, totally blame it. I understand. I guess it's, in a way, it's kind of like white lies, but it's not. It's maybe deflecting or whatever.
Yeah, what happens is that a lot of young people get caught up because of their peer pressure.
Yes.
And so what I'm trying to do is help them design ways to get out of that peer pressure. What
Love
would
it.
it take that they don't lose face, because especially for males, one of the things I do domestic violence classes, and one of the greatest issues or concerns for men is shame. Men hate being shamed.
Okay.
So if I can help you come up with something that gets you out of being shamed, and you can be in choice of doing something different, then it's a win-win.
Okay, so when guys are in shame, do they just go into reaction? Do they do
yes.
like the fight?
Yes.
And
it's being explosive, but it's because not asking questions.
okay.
And so a lot of times like for example, if I'm talking to one of the men in the group that in Savalti, in the domestic violence group, I'll ask them questions about, what is it like to give up your power? And when do you realize that you're losing your power in anything? Right. Not just the relationship with your partner, but when are you losing power, and what does that feel like?
So what kind of answers do you get back from these guys?
Unfortunately, a lot of the guys have gotten bad information from either community members or peers or other individuals who have been incarcerated or were living a lifestyle that didn't create any new way of being, lack for a better term. So what happens is they are sitting back making answers of past mistakes of their circle.
Okay, so they're just living in the past.
They're living from the past and present, because you can only get information. You can only get a certain amount of information from the circle of people you hang out with.
Right.
If they're all doing the same thing,
right,
you're gonna have the same outcome. You have to step outside the circle to get more. And it's not necessarily meaning that you have to go to other people. Sometimes you have to go to certain situations, certain classes.
Right.
Whatever it takes to create a different choice. And it's the first time, and some of these guys in their 30s, and they never had anybody ask them a question about, where do you get your information from?
Isn't that the craziest thing?
Yes.
Where I think a lot of us are programmed just to hear information and then make an opinion.
Yes.
And not actually think about where that information could have come from, or if there's a different way of seeing the information.
Right.
I know that's one of the reasons I traveled so much, outside and internationally, and have put myself in a lot of different cultures, because I want to see things from different points of view, right?
Right. And that's great.
But
I think that what happens to a lot of people is fear. They're overtaken with fear from being in some place that's so different. So what happens is that fear is probably, I would say, one of the greatest sins that people can commit against themselves, because it stops them in their tracks from choosing something different.
Right.
So I'm not, because here's the piece that's kind of interesting. I don't care what race, what sex you are. Most people stay in the same place most of their lives.
Wow.
They go to the same bar, they go to the same restaurant, they stay in the same neighborhood, because it's the fear of, I don't know what's out there outside of this comfort zone that I live in. And I noticed that early on in my life. I was like, man, and that was boring to me. Yeah. For me, I was like, I don't want that. I want something so different that every day I look, I'm like, oh my God, this is fantastic. But most people get comfortable with being in the same space. And so that's another tool that I use with people. What are you willing to do different?
Ooh, wait, say that again. That was awesome.
What are you willing to do different?
What are you willing to do different? That's
Yes.
fantastic.
And a lot of people, it's the first time, what do you mean do different? I'm like, do anything different. Like, some of the fathers is like, what would it be like this holiday when you're with your child? Sometimes we talk about the Christmas holiday. What would you like to do different with your child that you've never done before?
I think that's so beautiful. And, you know, I would love to continue chatting with you.
Yes.
And I know people probably want to reach out to you. So
Yes.
if people want to reach out to you and perhaps they've got questions.
Yes.
And maybe you can,
Yes.
do you do some coaching?
Yes,
as
I do
well?
coaching,
Okay.
I do facilitation, I do body work.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
So how can they get in touch with
So
you?
there are many ways. The first way is I'm asking everybody to go to my YouTube page, Being John Ashford.
Being John Ashford. Okay.
And then the other place you can find me on Facebook
Uh-huh.
by John Ashford, just John Ashford. And I have a website, www.beingjohnashford.com.
Being John Ashford, I
Ashford.com.
love it. And I
Yes.
like being with
Yes, yes.
you being you. I
Yes.
think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today at TV Toastmasters. We've had lots of fun, and there's so many different people that are out there. There's so many questions you could be asking, and we hope you ask questions. And if you want to ask, is TV Toastmasters or Toastmasters, is Toastmasters for me? You can go to toastmasters.org, find a club near you, check out the people, check out the fun that we have, and hope to see you sometime soon.
Welcome to an opportunity to take the next step of your professional speaking journey. I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever wished you were a star in a television show? Or at an event where the media is interviewing bystanders and you are wanting to be picked to give your opinion of the event? Or even in the smallest sense, you're at a sports game and secretly hope that your smiling face would appear on that big jumbo screen TV? But the jumbo screen always finds the fans with the painted faces. And you think to yourself, maybe next time. Well, what if I can offer you a chance to be on TV? Would you take it? That is what I want to offer you now. I'm Dottie Love, Associate TV Producer and Director. Toastmasters International is one of the largest organizations whose mission is to help improve your speaking skills. And District 7 is expanding your opportunities to do speaking via television. We have 4 fully equipped television studios and TV Toastmaster broadcasts to over 500,000 homes, plus a YouTube channel. Who knew? We want to invite you to take advantage of using media and television, either in front or behind the scenes. Let me share a few options that you have. First, you can be a guest on a show. Highlight your business or hobby or your community interest. Anything you're passionate about. Be a featured guest. Secondly, you can train to be a host on an ongoing TV segment. We will train you for that. Third, what about creating your own talk show? We will train you for that as well and give you access to a community media studio to do just that. Or lastly, be behind the scenes, either running a camera or editing shows. You decide which avenue is best for you, and our TV Toastmasters team will help you to navigate to get the most out of your media experience. Personally, I've done them all. I started as a guest, went to hosting, up to directing my own TV show. I don't tell you this to impress you. I tell you this to impress upon you that your personal growth with Toastmasters is directly related to what you take advantage of. And I encourage you to be bold in looking for opportunities to stretch and grow. If this intrigues you, or If you have club members who you think that might be interested in this, please contact us here at TV Toastmasters. I'm Dottie Love, and you can reach me or any of us in the TV Toastmasters family at the contact information at the bottom of the screen. You can also find us on the web. Our website is 7512.toastmastersclub.org.
Hi, I'm Deb Hart. I'd just like to share with you how appreciative I am of being able to be a TV Toastmaster host. I get to share stories within the community, have people come on the show and educate the viewers, and talk about a subject that I'm very familiar with, and that's health. I encourage you to come aboard and be a part of our TV Toastmasters Host Club. It's fun. You'll have a good time.
Have a story that others need to hear? Seeking an audience for your message? Have an experience that can transform the lives of others? Practice your message and perfect its delivery in a TV studio while creating content for regional, national, and international exposure. That's right, get seen by an ever-increasing audience. Visit TV Toastmasters.
Ken Coombs here speaking about TV Toastmasters. As an area director, I see more value in that venue than perhaps some of you do, so I want to share that. Providing a televised voice for District 7, its clubs, and their members not only gives people a chance to come here and get a project ticked off that says speak on television, it gives contestants in an area contest or a division or a district contest at least a chance to come and practice and see what they look like. It gives people a chance to share an important message with the district, whatever that might be. So consider your next speech perhaps being on television. Not your 15 minutes of fame, but your chance to reach a broader audience.